This is sound check right now.
I'm going on the ice and snow. Without sunrise and a cool breeze blows. Hammer of the gods. Are we recording? Hello.
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 Wait, which,
Hello.
Welcome. Which intro are we on?
To week number 3, episode number 3 of the Save Point podcast.
Mazel tov.
I'm Chris.
Yeah, I'm Caleb. Wait,
That's
Caleb.
Chris. I'm Sam. This is Caleb.
Yep. Yes.
We all went to Starbucks before this podcast.
We did, because it is 9:25.
Chris got a pumpkin spice latte. I did not. Caleb got a cup of air. Mm-hmm. He was feeling especially skinny today.
Sam got ice water.
And I got
Skinny.
a diet ice water.
Oh.
There's
Diet?
more calories in my diet ice water than most girls who go to Starbucks.
They actually
eat on a
sell
regular
diet
basis,
water
so.
at Giant Eagle. I'm not kidding either. You go to Giant Eagle and you buy diet water.
Hey, what's the difference?
Just buy some just so I can taste it.
Is it water just with aspartame in it?
Like just like put like the aspartame in the water. It puts the aspartame in the water.
It's just like a pill and it dissolves. It's like in the cap and you open it and it falls in and dissolves.
For use only in diet water.
How you guys doing today? That's for the two of you. That's a question for you guys. I missed a joke, apparently.
I spilled coffee on my pants.
You didn't.
And our couch.
No, you spilled coffee on your pants, Chris. Screw you! I have to go get...
Come on, man.
So I've been doing great. Chris, how have you been?
Because it's my couch. Because it's my...
I can tell you
Because it's my couch.
Not like exclusively on my...
It really did.
I'm not.
There's nothing on the couch.
I'm not upset.
There's, like, the ratio of coffee on the couch to beer on the floor is...
I was about to say, I'm not upset. Do you know how much crap I've spilled on the floor?
Smeared on the floor? What?
Well, yeah.
Oh, God.
Smear it all.
I just, like, come home and Chris is, like, covered in poop, just, like, rubbing it around the floor. Like...
It's a really gross image.
Yeah, I'm the
No,
one,
hey,
I'm
look,
the one that had to come home to that.
you want to talk. You spill just as much as I do.
I have spilled beer on the floor once.
3 times.
Once?
2 Leinenkugels in a Oktoberfest.
No. The Leinenkugel that foamed didn't get on the floor. One of the Leinenkugels was on the counter.
Do it.
And the second one only went on my hand.
Oh.
That's not true at all. You spilled 2 Leinenkugels on the floor, not including the one on the counter and the Oktoberfest that you kicked.
Okay, I didn't know it was still there. I don't know why it was still there. I didn't kick it like, meh.
Like on purpose, sure, but it was with your foot.
Why did I leave it on the ground?
How much of this are we going to cut, do you think?
What had I been doing the night before? Probably
all of this.
We were playing Destiny.
No, here's what you can do. In cut, or the out cut can be me just accidentally spilling the thing on. In cut can be me just looking
We
sad.
need like a technical difficulty slide.
Ding, 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 ding.
Achievement Hunter has a sweet one where they play like polka music. Oh no, it's like mariachi music. It's so great.
I have coffee everywhere.
Oh, you got some on your shirt, dog.
It's fine. The mic will cover that up.
I don't know.
I have a new cologne called
Milk and Sugar
Coffee.
That's cool. So how are you guys doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm losing my voice, which is why I'm actually drinking tea right now.
I'm okay.
Caleb sounds a lot more down for some reason now.
I smell like coffee for some reason.
Hey, coffee smells good. At
I wonder
least.
why you smell like coffee.
Is the lid okay?
I guarantee you, there's an actual cologne out there somewhere that is like coffee scented.
Oh no, there's
Coffee.
like a mocha. I'm sure that I'm like Irving, like cocoa butter oil.
Oh yeah.
Cocoa butter.
Well,
oil.
I mean,
I think it's one of the other Sam.
After reading that
No,
there's
cocoa butter
a
is the thing.
after reading about, and I gotta tell you, I don't know. Have you guys heard of that? Just because it's a smell that I thoroughly enjoy, although I don't know if I want to smell like it. But you can, in fact, find a cologne that smells like a new book.
Troy Baker.
like
like
a
walking
new
into
book,
a-
like,
like a-
Troy Baker.
I assume Troy Baker just smells like
Is it like Troy Baker by Maybelline?
Troy
Maybelline is female products first off.
And it's,
Yeah, but
it's like makeup.
they ventured into the male product section and made a Troy Baker cologne.
This is their first step.
Their first
Is
their
a
first
Troy Baker
foray
scented
into
cologne.
male like things. That
Maybelline.
Maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe it's
Oh,
Maybelline by Troy Baker.
Ew.
I imagine that Troy Baker smells like like
What is
whiskey and hair product.
Get some. You're just imagining Booker now.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yes.
What's your-
you're like,
your
yes.
point?
but if he smelled like Joel, he would smell like zombies and sadness.
Okay, so maybe
sweat.
it's zombies, sadness,
Blood.
hair product,
And whiskey.
whiskey.
But there's a cologne that smells like New Book, like walking into a Barnes and Noble, and I was like, that's
New Booker?
awesome.
I want
A
cologne
new,
that smells like
a
gasoline.
New Bookers.
I just what? Just pour some gasoline.
So
Honestly, yeah, you might as well.
Like the clip in have you seen Zoolander?
who has?
I'm not gonna have.
You know, like
A
when they-
gasoline shower.
When they make like the
I said I wanted
the fountain
to
is, like,
smell-
keep, like pouring gasoline.
Oh my
on
God,
each other.
yeah.
I said I slightly like the smell of gasoline. Not that I want to come into work. Hey guys, I hope no one has a cigarette today
you know-
because I might die.
Hey Caleb, do you know what goes hand in hand with liking the smell of gasoline?
No.
Losing brain cells.
I was gonna make a joke about that, but I was like, yeah, better not.
Why? Is it insensitive to people who have had gasoline incidents?
I just low hanging fruit.
Yes, I grabbed it.
So I
I'm
wanted
very
to,
short, so
After that,
Same.
I wanted to kick off today, and this is something that I'll be doing in concurrent podcasts. Is while I recognize that our current viewers right now are people that that know us fairly well, we are starting to get people that are unfamiliar with us, and seeing as all our content is personality driven. I'm going to take some time with every podcast to just ask you guys, what you've been into, like listening, reading, watching, whatever. And this all started this way. I'm going to ask you what kind of music you've been listening to.
all right.
Mostly because I wanted an excuse to talk about some of the music that I've been listening to, which I'm really, really excited about. But I do want to hear what you guys are, because I know the three of us all share extremely similar music tastes.
For the most part, yeah.
I know you guys tend to lean a little hard into like the rap and hip hop than I do, and I prefer like the heavier kind of stuff. But I mean, we all appreciate
I agree with that.
everything that we listen to.
Yeah, I think we all like really recognize the true artistic genius behind artists such as Rebecca Black, and her ilk, and just really see the.
I think this is more Sam's venue. This is more Sam's.
It's like he's trying to make a joke. It's just not funny.
No, see, it's funny. It's really not a joke though. Once
So
you
Sam, what have
realize,
you been?
It's
Listening.
a way of life, man.
once you recognize that every day is Friday, then you really fully understand like what Rebecca Black was getting at.
Now, here's the real question, and I know this is one that I think everyone asks, but do you sit in the front seat or the back seat?
Do I sit in the front seat or the back seat? Well, I'm driving most of the time, and I can't do that from the back
Do you
seat.
not drive from the back seat? All right, so I'm really curious. I'm
minute.
honestly
Okay, we're
genuinely
just gonna
curious.
move
Like,
on.
what have you been listening to this week, Caleb?
Well, actually, it's pretty cool because I've been getting into records. I got my sister some records just for like birthday gifts.
Vinyl records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Old style stuff. And so I listen to some like classics, like some Johnny Cash stuff.
Oh, heck yeah.
She has, and I couldn't even tell you half the stuff.
See if I still feel.
I couldn't even tell you half the stuff I listen to because like I don't know
'Cause it's
stuff that is
so-
like classically within
it's
that
so,
genre.
Out there.
And I mean, there's so much that's on vinyl these days. Anyways, it's like it's like saying, oh, let me take this entire like all of music.
Well, yeah, and I think that's kind of is like vinyl's had quite a bit of a resurgence in the last 6-7 years.
I think it's because of that level of like collectability.
Sure. But
so-
what's interesting to me though, like most of the people that I talk to, because I mean, yeah, I think all three of us actually know like a decent amount of musicians and people that are very into music.
Right.
Most of the people that I talk to that are music enthusiasts, the only form of like physical copies of music that they'll get, there's like they don't do CDs, and who still has cassette players other than Sam.
I do.
Is everyone buys all their physical music on vinyl, and I like to think it's got that classical feeling of you got the record player and the warm sound of having the needle and everything, and it's a different experience overall. But and I think that's mostly because that got kind of started with the rise of digital music and streaming services specifically, because things like Spotify and Apple Music are so entrenched in culture now and
Well,
having
they
access
also
to
do
all
this
of
cool
that.
Thing. They do this cool thing where they have all these records are different styles and colors, and it's not like it used to be in like the freaking 50s or whatever. They had them.
Yeah.
They've done like all this like cool stuff to individualize their records, and so if you do want to put them like in cases on display or whatever, you can be like, oh, I know. Let me tell you exactly about that record there.
Yeah, the people now that are music enthusiasts have gone back to getting records to get that sort of experience around. There's almost this culture around listening to music that way again, which I think in part was a big due to the rise of like hipster culture and that sort of thing. Because I think overall listening to vinyl is still considered a pretty hipster thing, but I think it's starting to permeate more and more into the mainstream.
Have you been to an actual record shop in the last couple of years?
Yeah,
it's permeated with like man buns, tattoos, and septum piercings.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
No, nothing wrong with that. If I could have hair,
that is the hipster thing, though.
Sure.
I will say, a couple of the like music people on YouTube who I respect, like Anthony Fantano. He loves getting records on vinyl, and his backdrop is just like records, just a shelf full of records. It's awesome.
I love it. The thing about listening to something on vinyl though too is that. I mean, it's not easy to change between tracks or anything like that. It's like when you start a record, you're going to finish at the very least that whole side of that record. Yeah. On this, if you're sitting down to listen to music. Whereas, like, if I pull up my phone and I'm going through things on shuffle, I'll hear like the first minute and a half, 2 minutes of a song, and then I'll be like, all right, I'm bored, and then go to the next one. And so it kind of makes you listen to that album in a different way, which I thoroughly appreciate.
No, that's totally true as well, because it's like it's like if it's digital, you're just kind of scrolling through and like, oh, whatever, I'm at work, or
But I mean, have you ever tried to listen to like track three on side B of a record? You put it down, and you're like,
I have now,
and you're like, oh damn, it's like halfway through the second verse, and like you're moving the needle trying to find the right spot, and it's a pain in the butt.
I'll be honest. Speaking of the needle, I have a record player. I got a record player about a year ago.
It's right it's right underneath the camera.
It's literally underneath the camera. Part of the reason, if I'm being completely honest, like a larger than I would like to admit, part of the reason I got a record player is because one of my favorite sounds in the whole world
is the needle touching
that
the
sound,
beginning
like
of the
when
record.
you put the needle down, that little scratch.
I'm
not even going to try to imitate it.
Absolutely.
It would be disgusting. There is something about that sound.
I 100% agree.
And I also think this. Every generation has their thing they collect. It was Beanie Babies,
Pokemon cards,
things along those lines.
Oh, yeah.
For me, I love, like, my pile of records with a few of yours interspersed.
I was about to say, there's a bunch of mine over there, too.
I love having this physical collection of music that I enjoy. Like, I've gotten everything from Troye Sivan, Kanye, Father John Misty.
And then if you're to count like my records over too, we've got like the Force Awakens soundtrack,
Force Awakens,
House of Heroes, there's August Burns Red,
Halo
there's
2 soundtrack.
NWA.
They're just like, it's a wide variety of music.
wait, can we talk about what Christian? You got House of Heroes, you got Force Awakens, you got August Burns Red, you got NWA, you got
No, that's true. I got Straight Outta Compton on vinyl.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh, did you buy it when we were at?
No, Brittany got it for me for a birthday present last year.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it sounds awesome on vinyl too.
And that's something that just shows that kind of like array that wideness. Like everyone is just these. No,
I don't think Ray listens to NWA.
Ray Skywalker.
Right.
She's a Skywalker.
We don't know.
That's for later. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I know you guys agree. You're like my best friends or whatever.
Or whatever.
But something else that's really cool, and I like this tangent that we're going off. This isn't even the thing that I wanted to talk about. This is great. I really enjoy this. The thing that's cool about collecting vinyl nowadays too is I'll start a bit early. Like back in the 50s or whatever, as Caleb put it.
Yeah,
is you had that was the only way to consume music at that time. And so, in order to make your band stand out, you had to have some like dope ass artwork on, or whatever. It's like something about your record had to stand out and mix all of the other stuff. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean that was back before a lot of the regulations that we've got on our stuff now.
What was the record that had like a dude after he just killed himself with a shotgun? Do you know which record I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I can't remember what one it was.
I can't remember the name of the record, and it was some I think it was a rock
That was
band.
a dark joke. I'm sorry.
You should just Google guy killed himself with a shotgun.
Don't do that.
I'm
No.
sure it'll come
Don't
up.
do any of that.
Don't do-
It might be-
album of guy killed.
But the
Sounding
No.
like a photo album of a guy killed him.
Oh,
eef.
dang it!
Did you go on the suicide walk also?
No.
R
don't do
R
that.
dash watch people die.
That place is sad.
It's terrible. I've never been on there because I'm positive you get put on some sort of list after like the first time you
This
click
is
on it.
upsetting.
Off I think the equivalent to that nowadays though is getting stuff like colored vinyls.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this yet, Caleb. I've got like I said, the Force Awakens
the
soundtrack
coolest
over
thing
there,
ever.
and on the side B of both discs are these holograms where you shine a light on them and it makes this sort of projecting like there's a TIE fighter like floating over the top of it, or like the Millennium Falcon.
What
It's the
in
coolest
the
looking
heck?
thing in the world.
It's literally so cool. Like when he first told me about it, I was like, "Yeah, sure, Chris.
Like, kinda-
whatever you say."
That sounds real gimmicky, and then we threw it up there, and he goes, "That is awesome."
I was like, I was like, because look, I was in the middle of something, and Chris was like, "Dude, you got to see this." And I was like, I'll go look at it for a second, then go back to what I was doing. I watched it for like 30 seconds.
It's
It's one of those things.
I have a pretty bad ADD, so for me, like 30 seconds of like solid
It's a long
attention
time.
on something is like a long time.
but I mean,
What
like
are we talking about again?
the other thing that I think about too, and
Where am I?
I've been trying to find this for so long just because it was such a limited release. Okay, I mean, most of the people that are watching this, we are from Columbus, Ohio, and I think we're all pretty proud of the fact that we like Columbus. I thoroughly do. At any
I have
rate.
it tattooed on my arm.
And so we're big. The three of us are very big 21 Pilots fans. Before they were popular, mind you. Just to throw that out there.
Just to
And they played.
let you know my level of
They
exclusivity.
played a show at the LC a couple years back, which is Express
Now
Live.
it's the
Now.
Express Live. Thank you very much.
I still call it the LC Pavilion.
I will never call it the Express Live. It's the dumbest name. LC Pavilion. Until
Well,
I
Express
die.
owns it.
But screw Express.
But they play,
They ruined my high school.
or
years.
sponsor us, Express.
Yeah,
I like
that
your
too.
clothing.
I will
After we
will
talk trash about
if-
your company sucks. Now give me money.
Express. If you give us
Free tickets,
I was like free tickets to every show at that venue for
free
life.
jeans,
I'll start calling it Express Live on the podcast. So
forever. We'll talk about how it's the
So
greatest
all of
venue
our
in Ohio.
subscribers will know what we're talking
Will you
about.
pay me? No, that's an LC. I don't know what to tell you.
Express. My number is 614. Call
Don't
me.
put. Okay.
Uh,
I was about to say bleep it
614 the Columbus area code.
614. Call me. I'm Sam.
My number.
But 21 Pilots
Samuel
played a show at the LC a couple years back, and they'd recorded a couple of the songs that they played, and they released a small EP with like 4 of those songs on there. But it was this clear red vinyl.
So cool.
It's like 4 tracks, and it's cut in the shape of Ohio. With
Really?
Yeah, it's the
What?
coolest looking thing in the world.
It's very cool.
I want it so bad. I can't.
very hard to find.
Very hard to find. It was a limited run to begin with, and that show was like 3 years ago, because it was all songs off of Vessel. It was before Blurryface came out. Although I also have Vessel on vinyl, and it's clear. It's
very
you can
cool.
see through
Also.
it. It's awesome.
The one for me of vinyls that I would love, I wanted for a long time, that I've now decided to stop hunting for, is Porter Robinson, which anyone who knows me super well knows that like Porter Robinson is probably my favorite electronic artist of all time. Worlds, I think, is the best electronic album of all
Horizon's
time.
pretty good.
This Worlds is mind-blowingly good. His song Shelter is my favorite song of his. It's not on an album. It was kind of released after Worlds, but I don't think it'll be on his next album because it was like at least a year ago now. My all-time favorite music video is the Shelter video. But he did a like 7-inch vinyl of just Shelter.
Oh, cool.
It was like $20, so it wasn't even that expensive. But it was like he had like 100 or like 200, 300 of them. Like not a whole lot of them. It sold out. It's impossible to find now. I looked forever for it until I looked for some reviews for it. Found out that Porter Robinson, who mastered Worlds really well. I have Worlds on vinyl. It sounds amazing on vinyl. Shelter, he did not master for like specifically for vinyl. He just compressed the MP3 and like put it on vinyl. And
Okay.
everyone I know,
Do you
everyone
mind
I've,
putting this on the floor so I
Yeah, I
don't bang
got
my
you.
mic? Thank you.
everyone I have heard who has it said that it just sounds like garbage.
Oh, that's
like
a
it
shame.
sounds like, you know, like when you go like back in the day when you'd go on YouTube and watch like lyric videos, and it'd be like some dude like holding his phone up to his computer and like making a lyric video.
Oh, absolutely. Heck
Like,
yeah.
not his phone. It would have been iPod back then. I'm sorry, not his phone.
Well, I'm gonna be 100% honest. If I watched a music video on YouTube, it was probably some form of like Naruto FMV.
like a freaking like an AMV.
Yeah.
Like, shout out to, we found out, Chris and I found out
XYK.
that our friend
Love you, buddy.
XYK, also one of the top Product M players in the world. Shout out to Kyler Curtis. He's a great
Number
dude.
one Luigi.
Number one Luigi in the world. But no, we found out through Twitter that he made these like incredible but also terrible, like, was it Kingdom Hearts?
So well made. My inner weeb was joyous when I watched them.
Yeah, they're
inner
some
weeb.
dope AMVs. Twitter XYKness. Shoot him a tweet and ask him to bring back up those AMVs. They're incredible.
If you dig far enough, I'm sure you can find him linking them to us.
Or you can just follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, Save Point Chris.
And if you give to our Patreon, eventually I'll ask him to retweet them.
So we're holding his tweets hostage now.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
that's the jig.
So what? Or I'm sorry, you said Porter Robinson.
But oh yes, I guess we could probably go back to the question from the beginning of all.
Yeah,
of this.
is what have you been listening to?
What have I
recently
been listening to? I'm not gonna steal yours because I know what you. Want to
You
say.
know exactly what I want to talk about.
So here's what I'm gonna talk about.
There's a couple others I do want to
Here's-
mention.
I want to talk about one album.
Okay.
I've been listening to it on and off since the album came out about a month ago or so. Kesha's Rainbow.
Ooh, I still haven't listened to that.
So the first song off of it was Praying, which is incredible.
That's a good one.
Praying is an amazing
I do
song.
like that song a lot.
First song I think was Woman, but Praying was like on the
She
radio
can hit
first.
them high notes in that
Yes.
song.
Oh
Woo!
my gosh, that note towards the end that she hits.
Woo.
The first time I heard it, I think I pooped and peed myself simultaneously.
all
evacuated.
control just gone.
Evacuated your bowels.
And then, yeah, it's an amazing song. A Woman also released around the same time, also a great song.
I didn't listen to that.
And
one.
to be honest, they're the best two songs on the album.
That's kind of a shame.
It is, the first time I listened to it, I was super disappointed. I listened to it probably 5 or 6 times since then. It's a good album. I don't love it. I don't hate it. But here's why I like it. Outside of the musical perspective, Kesha hasn't made pop music in about 6 years, I think, since she's like released a formal
Has it
album.
been that long?
Good.
And then I think 5 years, because 2012,
I heard it.
I believe Warrior. Shut up. I think Warrior was her last thing in 2012.
Sure.
And let's think, the average like career of a pop star, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
You'll have a few who last longer, but in general, like
I feel like the
I feel
majority
like
of the pop
Justin
stars that
Bieber,
we got
like, isn't
now
around
have been around a lot longer than
I
you would think.
think Kesha's more fit in like the Becky G category,
I don't know who that is.
like showers, singing in the showers. Ba-da-bee, ba-da.
I don't know who that is.
It's a great song.
It's-
Um,
I,
but-
don't listen, I don't listen to the radio.
Shut up. But anyway, what I'm saying is, it's been cool to see somebody who I think made some pretty like good, but like albeit generic pop music 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy.
But it's cool to see her come back
I thoroughly enjoy that
with
song.
a much more mature album. An album that actually has some like musical progression to it, some different styles in it. There's a lot of country influence in it, actually.
It's more mature than her old stuff.
Yeah, it's a good album. I think it's worth listening to, especially if you follow, like, I like very closely follow the whole story with her and Dr. Luke.
Yeah.
She accused him of raping her, and Sony let her out of her contract, even though like there was some pretty decent evidence that she probably was sexually, at the very least, sexually harassed by Dr. Luke. Sony was like, he makes us money, so screw you, Kesha.
Yeah.
So I followed that story partly because I like Kesha, but partly because, from like a legal standpoint, it was a very interesting case as she was trying to get out of this contract. So following that whole story, a lot of the themes on the album are her like dealing with the aftermath of that. I mean, I don't know if you guys know what she's been doing for the last 5 years, but she couldn't make money from her own music because Sony barred her from that.
Yep.
So she was playing shows in bars in California for the most part.
That's cool.
So Kesha, who used to be like a chart-topping artist like 5 years ago, is playing for crowds of like 30 people in a bar in the middle of nowhere.
So I
Like,
need to text my fiance real fast.
that's like what she's been doing. So it's been cool to see like her come back with this album, like a redemption story. It's nice. It's a good story behind the album, and that's why I like it. It's also got like a few of the songs are really good. Listen to Praying.
I'm gonna have to. Praying is the name of the album and the song.
Praying's
It was the first single for that
Song,
that
right.
album, but man, it's a good song.
What's the actual name of the album?
Rainbow.
I'll have to give it a listen.
It's not like I'm not saying it's incredible, but if you know the story behind it, there's just something about like kind of hearing her come back a little older and just like see like a newer side of Kesha.
Right.
Because I mean, TikTok came out when I was like
Yeah, her butt's
8.
on the cover.
Her butt is on the cover. TikTok
nice. Okay.
TikTok came out when I was like 7th, 8th grade. When TikTok came out. I remember bumping that jam.
That's
TikTok's
so
good.
weird to think that it was like that long ago. It can't have been that long.
Feeling like P. Diddy.
It can't. It had to have been a little.
hit this city
Before I leave, brush my teeth.
I don't.
with the bottle of Jack.
I'm
bottle of
talking.
Jack? Why would you do that?
If you hate your teeth,
That's a quick
Freaking
way to
things.
destroy your enamel.
Gosh.
yeah, my uncle's a dentist. He's
Yeah,
he's
my
somewhere
uncle's
like
a
shaking
dentist,
his
and he
head.
said definitely not to brush your teeth
He
with
said not to. It's probably not a good idea.
10 out of 10 dentists recommend you
10
brush your
out of
teeth
10.
with Jack.
I thought you were gonna say 9 out
Get
of 10. There's that one that's like, nah, it's fine.
There's 9 out of 10 recommend you don't, but there's one dude that's like, yeah, dude, Jack.
Lives in Tennessee. All right, Caleb, what about you, man? What you been listening to lately?
He talked about that.
Yeah, I
already.
already talked about it. Chris,
Where-
freaking
where have you
screw
been?
I'm gonna sit over
How
here
do
with
you
my
think-
vinyls and my sadness.
How do you think we got to the whole vinyl
Oh
conversation?
yeah, we did
earlier?
start with that.
my
didn't we?
vinyls and my sadness will be over here without you? And your,
Oh yeah, Johnny Cash and classic
And you
stuff.
forget
That's
that.
right.
Yes.
You stay in your chair of hatred.
I can't believe how.
We
short my
sit on
memory
the
is.
couch of acceptance.
I don't know. I don't want to be on the
Acceptance,
couch of
Caleb.
acceptance.
Acceptance.
Get-
Accept me.
God, no, the bald head is touching me. Okay, Chris, what was your thing?
Not the weirdest video we've ever made.
Watch the rest of
Oh,
the
it
videos.
feels like
Find
a-
out what it is.
Feels like a
On an unrelated note, you
Violated.
know that. Are you familiar with the song "Hurt" by Johnny Cash?
yeah.
Did you know
Am
that?
I familiar with it? Yes.
Did you know that? That's a cover song.
The
Nine Inch Nails.
Nine Inch Nails.
I thought I remembered hearing that, not, and this might be not true, but I thought I heard on the internet that Nine Inch Nails had originally been upset about the fact that Johnny Cash did the cover, and they went back and they heard it, and they were like, "Oh no, it's totally fine. This is amazing."
Yeah,
That's
Am I mistaken?
Well, I've heard that before.
Well, they being Trent Reznor, but yeah.
Oh, okay,
Because
sure.
Nine Inch Nails is technically it's all Trent Reznor, and then he's got a band that plays with him live.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm not the biggest fan in the world. I have a lot of coworkers who are super into them, and there are a few songs where I went, okay, that's not really my thing, but I mean, he does some interesting stuff.
Okay, so what have you been listening to then?
I've been listening to a couple different things. The big one that I wanted to get onto is, have you heard of a band called Being as an Ocean?
I have, yeah.
For the
okay.
record, this would have been mine if I hadn't known you wanted to talk about it.
I can't get over how much I like it.
It's amazing.
Being as an Ocean is like a post-hardcore kind of band. It's like while they do have like a bit of heaviness and a lot of it is screamed vocals and that sort of thing. The thing that makes them post-hardcore is it's typically a bit more down tempo than like metal bands.
No like heavy breakdowns. Like
I don't know. Yeah, not like face-crushing breakdowns. There are breakdowns,
Oh,
but
no,
it's
it's
like
not
I don't
like a
really,
Gideon
I
breakdown.
don't know how to describe it. It's a little more atmospheric. That might not be the right word for it, but there's a lot like
No, that
cleaner,
makes sense.
a lot more cleaner tones. It's a lot more melodic
how about
as
this?
well.
It's like if Sean and Gideon had a baby.
Are you
Being
sure?
as an ocean.
No, that's a little too like prog. I'd say I would say if
Frog.
Under Oath played
I'm
played
more
more
of a
songs
new
in
age
if
person.
Under Oath played more songs in major keys, that's gonna
Major key.
Major
I'm sorry. All
key.
right, anyways, go.
Another one.
the thing
We
thing
the
about
best.
we the best music.
We the best music. DJ Khaled.
Are you done?
When DJ Khaled's gonna do a Chon cover,
Sorry, you can continue now.
I'm gonna be sad.
Just give up both of them. They put out an album
Another one.
last week.
There are no more.
They put out an album called
I
last
don't
week
have
called
any left.
"Waiting for Morning to Come."
Also,
And
beautiful album artwork as a side note.
fantastic
The album
album.
artwork is incredible.
Everything about the album is beautiful. It's a gorgeous album. And that they pulled way far back on any heaviness that they originally had. And there are a lot less guitars at all than I expected. What's cool about it? It's a lot of while there are guitars, it's lots and lots of ambient tones and a lot more atmospheric stuff.
Did you just say they've pulled back on all of the happiness they ever had?
Heaviness.
I thought you said happiness, and I'm just like, that feels like something like somebody like says like their psychiatrist. I've been pulling back on my happiness lately. Like that just
Isn't that the plot of that Xbox game that's coming out? We Happy Few.
or Inside Out.
Yeah,
to the movie.
they pulled back on the heaviness, and so the guitars are playing lots and lots of like cleaner ambient stuff, and then they've got like pads and synths on top of that. It's really synth driven. I was really surprised
Yeah,
at that.
the amount of synth
but they didn't.
is-
It's cool. It's really, really neat. But they didn't change the mixing on where they put their drums, which is something that's really cool. So the drums are still very much in the forefront and very, very clear and sound really, really big. It's super, super awesome. Something that I really like just about the structure of the album itself, though, is that almost every other track is instrumental.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I
there are a couple things, like you'll go from Dissolve to Thorns, and both of those have vocals in them. But for the most part, there's like this almost this separate story going on in between every single one of the songs with vocals, because all of
That's kinda cool.
all of the names of those interludes essentially create like a sentence.
Yeah, they work together.
Yeah, but also
I know what a
what's
sentence is, Sam.
but also what's great about
Subject.
what's
A
great about those
verb.
interludes is that they transition into every single
Dangling
track. So if you were to
preposition.
listen to the whole thing, everything flows so smoothly, and it's just so well done. It's some of the best
Okay.
writing, just like musical writing, like composure in an album that I think I've ever heard, and I think it's probably Being As an Ocean's strongest album.
Composure.
I'll have to give it a listen.
By August Burns Red is a great
It's a
song.
good album song.
The album is Messengers.
Yeah, I know.
The standout track is a song called Glow, which if you're not familiar with Being As an Ocean and this conversation sort of intrigues you, listen to that song, and then if you like that song, listen to the entire album, because it's totally worth it.
Or
Dissolve, I think, is a good place to start too.
I was gonna say, or Dissolve.
Or
Dissolve's probably my favorite song off the album.
Dissolve, I think, is the one song that sounds a little more like older Being As an Ocean, because it's much more guitar driven than the rest of the album. If you want an idea of what the new album of Waiting for Morning to Come sounds like, I'd say Thorns is probably a good bet, or like Black and Blue.
Or listen to Friday by Rebecca Black and
The Being As an Ocean cover.
Then Kill Yourself, and then
Don't do that.
don't do that.
Neither of those things.
Please don't do it with like Rebecca Black.
So we spent a lot of time talking about music, which I'm not complaining about. I can talk about music all
The
day.
music cast
A couple other things I've been listening to. Macklemore's got some newer stuff that I think
is just okay.
is just okay. It's incredibly, and I really don't know how. I wouldn't say this about anybody else, but because Macklemore's thing is that he went independent, was no longer with a label, and was making music that he liked, and then suddenly these two singles that he's put out sound incredibly like radio ready mainstream stuff.
No, Glorious feels like Macklemore, and I love Macklemore.
Love Macklemore.
If you watch this, my favorite rap album before Chance's Coloring Book came out of the last few years was The Heist. Until
It's so good.
Coloring Book overtook The Heist for my favorite rap album
that's
of
the
this
one I-
decade.
It's one of my favorite rap albums too. But I mean, it's like one of the songs has Lil Yachty on it, and it's just. And it's,
I'm okay with that. I don't hate Lil Yachty, but
I don't hate Lil Yachty, but the song itself, Marmalade, I was like, this could be anyone else.
No, you watch the video. The video's great.
The song itself could be anyone else, and it wouldn't matter. And,
But
and
anyway,
that's what bothers
It's almost
me.
like it's not butter.
His song Glorious feels like Macklemore sat down one day and thought, all right, listen, I haven't been on the radio
I'm short on money.
since my first album. 'Cause let's be honest, nothing was like a big downtown kind of radio. No big radio hits off this Unruly Mess I Made. So he's like,
Which
man,
is a
what
shame.
if...
That was a good album.
Yeah, no, it was a good album. Not quite as strong as The Heist, but still a very
No.
good album. But he was like, man, how do I make a radio single? Well, I'll get Skylar Grey,
Yep.
who does the hook on like every popular like rap song, particularly by white rappers.
And electronic song. It's kind of crazy everywhere right now.
And then have the song under 3 minutes, which historically Macklemore has a little bit on the longer side songs.
Usually
like
sits around 5.
like a flat 3-minute song.
He's no Justin Timberlake, which are 7 to 9 minutes. But
Jeez.
That album is hard to listen to because I get bored with the songs.
what are you talking
The
about?
only complaint is I get bored with the songs before they're done.
I have no such complaint.
2020 experience by
Part
Justin
1,
Timberlake.
Part 1, Part 2 blows.
2020 is that like if this song's 20 and this song's 20 and then the next song's 20? Is that what you mean? Or are you talking
Something
about
else I've
album
also
is
been
called
listening
2020
to.
Experience.
Something else I've also been listening to, and I don't know if you guys listen to them or not. Just you might like them, Kayla, because they've got like a classic rock sort of vibe to them. It's a band called Queens of the Stone Age.
never heard of him.
Called Queen?
No. They just put out a new album that is spectacular.
Queens of the Stone Age. Nice.
Yeah. They just played in town this week, too, and I was sad that I didn't see him, but I saw Gideon instead.
I'll have to get him a listen.
Really, really good. The first track off the new album is called Feet Don't Fail Me, and it's a banger. You should listen to that song and then tell me if you like it or not.
I like
but yeah,
bangers.
that's the
bangers and mash.
the music portion for this week's podcast. Next week will be movies or video games or something, or maybe we'll just talk more about
Books.
music because I could sit here all day. I've been reading the Battlefront 2 book and it's very, very good.
I've been reading an old book. It's called the Bible.
I don't think
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
words
this is
like
true.
on paper.
What is book?
Like no. I mean literally like words printed on paper in like a really long time.
Like besides there a seat.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump to some topics. Who wants to go first? We can do mine if you want. It's short.
Do Chris's.
All right, mine is really, really simple. Since I got Being as an Ocean out of the way, please go listen to the album. It's so good. Which I don't know if you guys heard. Last week, Colin Trevorrow was having some difficulties working with Kathleen Kennedy. Some creative differences coming up, and Colin Trevorrow stepped down from directing Star Wars Episode 9. And so there's a question of who was going to be taking Colin's place.
That's right. Yep.
And they announced yesterday that J.J. Abrams will be writing and directing Episode 9.
Why did he not just do the whole trilogy?
Unbelievable, dude. That's exhausting. He'd especially been spending like 9 years of his life working exclusively on Star Wars.
Peter
movies.
Jackson spent like 40 years of his life making Lord of the Rings.
And
Not everybody's Peter Jackson.
And
Not to mention, well, I don't know if you heard, and it was kind of a joke, but also kind of serious whenever he'd say it. But even when he was making Force Awakens, he was like, "I'm only going to do one." He's like, "I've made enough remakes recently," because he also did the Star Trek movies.
nice.
And so he's like, I'm done doing remakes. I only want to do one. And then after the Force Awakens came out, they kept talking to him. He's like, yeah, I can do more of these.
Well, I mean, after the success of the first one, it was as impressive as it was.
Yeah, as he's like rolling around in money. It was a great movie, though. I thoroughly enjoy Force Awakens. I'm really happy that we got Rian Johnson doing Episode 8 because I love Rian Johnson.
Force Awakens is my third favorite Star Wars movie.
Second favorite for me.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it goes Empire, Force Awakens, Rogue One for me.
I'll say quick ranking of all the Star Wars movies. Go.
Empire, Force Awakens, Rogue One, New Hope, Return of the Jedi. I don't care about the other three.
All right, for me, it goes Empire, Rogue One, Force Awakens, Return and New Hope is so hard for me. So I'm gonna go Phantom Menace. No,
I was going to say, if Phantom Menace is in the top of your list.
Probably only for my nostalgia blinders, Return then New Hope. Because when I was a kid, I liked Return better than I liked New Hope.
No,
now that I'm older, New Hope probably better. But
It is
and then I'll rank the prequels. Revenge of the Sith because it has the
least
Mustafar-
objectionable.
It has the Mustafar fight scene.
So it's kind of weird for me. 'cause,
And then
like,
Phantom Menace and then Attack because Attack is the most garbage movie.
Attack is awful.
It's just goofy. It's just a goofy movie. Thankfully, the TV shows that it spawned were all very good.
Clone Wars is great.
the original Clone Wars
especially
show?
the what's the name of the guy that runs Samurai Jack? Because he's the one that did the Clone Wars animated series.
Like the cartoony one?
Yeah.
Or
Like
the
2D
CGI
The
one?
cartoon
2D
one.
Ooh, yeah, I never saw that. I saw the CGI one.
it's like 4 episodes.
So
It's amazing.
There's way more than that.
It's
What are
kind of
you
weird
talking
you
about?
asked me that question because, like, I don't have...
There's way more than that.
What if I would do this?
No,
I really like the
it was a
Star
lot
Wars-
of episodes, but they were all like 5 minutes. You could watch the entire series in about an hour and a half.
Well, that's why. Because I did that. I got on YouTube. I assumed it was like
It's
4
super
episodes.
super
So
good.
here's the thing. I'll rank the Star Wars movies, and it's, like, mostly just, like, okay, I don't know. I like, the Empire Strikes Back the most.
It's the
That's
best
really
one.
all I
It's
can
the
say.
best.
It's the best one.
out of all of them.
Yeah.
I like that one the best. That's really all I can say. The rest
Objectively.
are pretty much like about the same.
Like their
to be
Star Wars
honest.
movies. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just
fair enough.
When you say the rest are about the same, are you implying that Rogue One and the Attack of the Clones are about
Yeah,
the
but
same?
Rogue One, like I don't know.
Are you implying that the Force
It's all
Awakens
Star Wars. I don't
Look,
or New
the,
Hope?
The,
Here's
the Darth Vader scene in Rogue One was better than all of the prequels combined.
Listen, here's my point.
Mustafar.
I'll take Darth Vader over
galaxy,
Mustafar.
or
Same,
no, not the galaxy because it's bigger than hello. The universe of like content that the Star Wars just kind of like spawned was really what I got into. Not necessarily the movies. As
You're
much
a
as
big expanded
the
universe
video
kinda guy.
games, the freaking. I
KOTOR.
even read some of like the books just out of curiosity.
I've read a lot of the books.
I also
Yeah.
did when I was a kid. I read so many Star
I,
Wars.
And they
I
were all
have
just
so
cool.
many of them in my room.
I mean, you have like Knights of the Old Republic. You have the whole thing with Kyle Katarn. I think it was called Jedi Knight.
There's the Jedi Knight. Technically, it started as the Dark Forces series.
Right.
Jedi Knight 2 was like Dark Forces 3.
And I love video games and stuff so much as a kid. That's really what I got into, not as much the movies themselves. And so when I rank the movies, I'm like, okay, the movies were cool, but my thing, like, I'm thinking Star Wars. The first thing,
a couple of video games had better storylines than most of the movies.
like, to me, the main character of Star Wars is freaking like Bastila and Revan. Like, I'm not even
That's
thinking.
so far removed from the rest of the movies, though.
Right, and you say like, oh yeah, Luke Skywalker, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's that one. Right,
Yeah.
I forgot he's a thing.
Yeah.
And so it's
Fair
weird. I come from like a weird perspective of it, which I mean, you guys have played those games to death, anyways. So.
I've played. I've
I have not played Code War to death.
I've played just about every Star Wars game that's ever been made.
I mean, that's right.
I shouldn't say all of them. I'm sure there's lots of like shovelware Star Wars games out there. I don't play mobile games very much.
Game Boy
but
Advance games.
I did want to get
Game Boy Advance Attack of the Clones is dope.
I got that for my birthday one year. I played the crap out of
No,
it.
I played that game. I know that game backwards and forwards.
It's terrible, but I played the crap out of it anyway.
Hard. That game is very difficult.
That's how most licensed GBA games were. Is very bad and very hard.
I always had a hard time with like the first level. Like if I could get past the first level, I was fine. I was just getting past when you're chasing the purple chick on
I don't have any problem with that. The second level, the second level when you're on the rooftops is Anakin Skywalker. That's a hard one.
Oh yeah, no, that's the one where I died.
That's the rough one.
And then,
I thought.
do you remember the episode where you're killing the Tusken Raiders' families, and
It feels really weird because you can actually attack the women and children.
yeah, like where you're actually killing. It's like a Game Boy Advance. It's like an E10 game, and you're killing like women and children.
It'd be like if in the Revenge of the Sith game there was a mission to kill all the younglings.
Dead women and children.
I remember like 10-year-old me being very conflicted. When
It
I
was
played
really
that
weird.
game.
But I wanted to get your opinions on how you feel about J.J. Abrams coming back and doing the last one, because personally I've always been a big Abrams fan. And I liked The Force Awakens a lot. I understand that movie was very similar to New Hope, and I don't think he's going to make this last one very similar to Return of the Jedi. So I'm not.
I would
looking at
hope
that
they're
particular
not just
complaint.
like, oh, this one is The Empire Strikes Back again.
I really hope they don't do that.
Hey, what if? Okay, so you know how
It's
this
already
movie-
thematically extremely similar, just because of where the characters are at. They're basically at where they were at the same place at the end of A New Hope. I mean, Rey is training with the Herman on an island far removed from everybody else. Like,
Finn got his arm cut off.
Finn didn't get his arm cut off. But it's already like really similar. We've already seen like walkers and speeders and stuff that are going to be in this one. And I mean that doesn't bother me too much because Rian Johnson is such a character director that I think we're going to get some great like personal stories out of this one. And so even if the flow is kind of similar to Empire Strikes Back, the characters are going to be different enough. I think that won't really matter too much.
Here is my thing with J.J. Abrams coming back. From the start, I said he should direct all three. I can't think of a bad J.J. Abrams movie that I've seen.
I can't. Here's the thing.
I like J.J. Abrams a lot.
I'm
I
not
do like
super
Abrams.
involved with the movie genre, so I wouldn't like know his bad movies because like the only ones that I would
They
have heard
don't
about
exist.
are the good ones, unless
Sure.
he made some really really bad ones that were so notable. But from what I understand of his work, name like the top like three he's made
He's
that
Super-
are not
Super
Star
8.
Wars. Not
He
Star
did.
Wars.
Super 8.
He did Super 8. He did the Star Trek movies. He did the Cloverfield movies.
Okay, so
Did
some
he do
good
10
stuff then,
Cloverfield
yeah.
Lane or just the first one?
He did 10.
He did 10?
Right.
I can't remember if he did 10 or just the first
Yeah, he
one.
did them both.
Thematically speaking, both Cloverfield movies.
Yeah.
Like 10 Cloverfield Lane was another. I wasn't
sequel.
sure if it was just like the same word or whatever. Okay, and they were thematically speaking very well done, and
Well, do you know the story
They had
about-
that kind of aspect where they really wrapped you into the story. And
Do you know the story about 10 Cloverfield Lane? It was actually a completely different movie, and they didn't think they couldn't figure out the proper branding for it, and so they changed small bits of the story to fit in the Cloverfield universe, so that way it would have the Cloverfield branding and be able to advertise better.
it was kind of
But
funny.
it worked. It was a fantastic movie.
It's fine
better than
because by the
Cloverfield.
end of
I liked
the
the first movie a lot.
It's okay. Total sidetrack. The end of 10 Cloverfield Lane is like
Comes out of nowhere.
It's so weird because it's like, seriously, she's in this thing and she's talking to this crazy guy, and you find out he's actually freaking crazy and
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. And then she walks outside and there's a freaking like
Alien.
gigantic alien thing, and it's like, what?
Hey, it's the one from the first movie.
It just I'm sitting there.
I mean,
not
he
seeing the first-
was nuts, but he did build a bunker to
Hold
keep
on.
him
After
safe from
not
that.
seeing the first movie,
Oh,
and for me, I'm like, oh yeah, it's just crazy guy.
you didn't see the first movie.
No, so I'm like, why is he doing the things he's doing, and why is she even like considering that he's normal? And then she walks outside. I'm like, oh, Everyone's crazy.
That must have been even weirder.
I know. From my perspective,
If you didn't know that giant alien in the first movie.
I remember seeing
That's hilarious.
cuts of the first movie, just shaky.
It was all like
Right.
like a camcorder.
It was
didn't
the
bother me.
Office Horror Edition.
It didn't bother me that much.
It's like-
I loved the first movie.
Did you guys ever see Quarantine?
No,
It was back when like hand cam was all
Holy
the
crap,
rage.
man! Quarantine.
like found footage stuff. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that I haven't seen that movie since I was like 13 years old.
Same, probably.
Wow.
I didn't watch. I'm not a big horror movie guy.
I'm not either. It's like one of those
hand-
ones that I
hand
randomly.
Cam, it's hand cam horror movie.
Yeah.
It's one of the better made hand cam horror
Yeah,
movies I've seen.
I
It's
think
not
that's
very
probably the
scary,
only
to be
reason I
honest.
knew
Sure.
about it is because it was so prolific.
I might look into it.
It's
I don't
a
know how
ripoff
I don't know how
of
well
a
it's
Spanish
held-
movie
it's held
called
up.
Rec, R-E-C.
Sure.
It's like literally if you watch Rec and you watch, or I might just call it R-E-C. If you watch R-E-C and you watch Quarantine, like frame for frame,
real
they're
similar.
almost the same movie.
Yeah.
But Americans ripped it off, so it's...
But yeah, so I think then, sorry to pull us back on topic. I think we're all like pretty good with Abrams coming back and doing the last one then, because I mean
Yeah.
they're
Oh, yeah.
already basically his characters, you know, because he was
Yeah,
he
you
was
know, you think about it that way. He like practically designed the people, and so he's really going to be able to.
he was really involved in the
fulfill
creative.
sort of like.
Yeah, he was very involved in the creative process in creating the characters for Force Awakens. So I think it's fitting that he gets to end that trilogy as well.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to it a lot. I'm
It'll be
very,
good.
very, very happy that Abrams is coming back. Of course, immediately people started complaining, "Oh, it's going to be Return of the Jedi 2," and I'm like, "It's not. They're not going to do that," because that was, I think, probably the most prolific complaint that came out of Force Awakens was that it was too similar to New Hope.
Also better than New Hope.
I wouldn't say that.
You ranked it above New Hope on your list.
Yeah, that's personal ranking. I like it better for different reasons, but I think I do think A New Hope is probably a better movie.
I think for the time, A New Hope is 100% a better movie.
The only reason I'd say A New Hope is better is, well, I mean, one, it started the whole Star Wars universe, but two, the only issue I don't have an issue with The Force Awakens being extremely similar to A New Hope, because I mean, I just now didn't even bother ranking the prequel movies. I don't care for them very much, and so. The first line of The Force Awakens is, "This will begin to make things right." It needed to be almost like a refresh, like a restart, a reboot to the series. And so by making it similar to what we already know, but still having different characters and slightly different themes, I thought it did, and sort of kickstarting this new universe. I thought it did a really, really great job of that. And Kylo Ren might be like one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time.
Definitely. I mean, everything is very well done, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
and so not knowing a lot about J.J. Abrams, but knowing the sort of things that he has worked on, I'm expectant of something that obviously will be pretty.
It's going to be well made for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, what do you expect? It's Star Wars. It's hard to mess up. I mean, well,
and now that they've got like $8 billion,
I guess I
or
can't
whatever,
say it's hard to mess up Star Wars when even.
But then you look at the prequel movies.
and then the prequels.
But I'd say A New Hope is a better movie than Force Awakens, specifically because the one complaint that I have with
I said that, and 1,000 people just flipped their tables.
The one complaint that I have with The Force Awakens is that it's not paced very well.
Billions of voices cried out in agony.
A New Hope has much better pacing than The Force Awakens does. Force Awakens, while I don't mind a fast movie, it was like go. There wasn't a lot of time to set up anything, and and getting sort of the context of the universe around that all has to come from supplemental materials. But the thing is, because I read all, the books and play the video games and that sort of thing, it's like I already know this information. But then I look at somebody on the outside that's only seen the movie, and it's like, yeah, nobody understands like why the Resistance are doing what they're doing, where the First Order came from, like who all these characters are, and that sort of thing. So I get that, and I'd say, yeah, we probably got to spend some time to allow like the movie to breathe, sit in some of these new planets and areas, a few more, get a little more into the politics of the time, which I have a feeling this next movie is probably going to do very, very well. But I think that's my only complaint with The Force Awakens. I loved everything else, especially the audio mixing, and it has the best lightsaber fight in the entire series.
I'm sorry, Mustafar is calling. I'd like a word with you about the best lightsaber fight in the Star Wars series.
Absolutely not.
It was pretty cool, dude. Which ones are you talking about? Which one do you think?
Rey and Kylo Ren. Or actually, Rey and Finn versus Kylo Ren, I think, is probably the best lightsaber fight in the entire series.
I'd put it third.
because thematically, just in the fight alone, it tells a lot about the characters themselves, which
That's a
I don't
good
think
point.
you.
No, it does.
I don't think you really see. You don't see that in any of the prequel ones. I don't think. Are we doing top 3 lightsaber fights? Because I can do that real fast. It's really easy for me. It's Force Awakens, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi.
I think Return of the Jedi's got to have that number 1 spot.
I understand. I can see it. I get it.
That whole thing with what's the term in the canon before it was wiped or whatever, or maybe that still is technically canon.
I'll
I
tell you
guess,
if it is.
Obi-Wan is supposed to be like the master of a certain like defensive lightsaber fighting.
That was old EU, yeah. Sorasu. Yeah.
So, this was created around the same time, and I'm sure people kind of like applied this and then used some sort of like confirmation bias on like, okay, so this movie's released and it's like, oh, it has to be like based off the old universe, obviously.
Sure.
But it's they think that it's because he's got this sort of like super skills and blah blah blah, he's gonna have this ability to fight the most like powerful Force user that exists right now.
Yeah. Really up until that point had ever existed.
Right.
Until Luke Skywalker had been trained.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I go Revenge, the Mustafar fight, but I think is just the one really good thing came out of the prequels. Then I go Empire Strikes Back, the fight in Coruscant. Coruscant, not Bespin, I mean.
Bespin, yeah.
That whole fight sequence there, and then I go probably New Hope third. Not New Hope, not New Hope.
Wow, Ben Kenobi and Darth Vader.
Yeah, the fight between Vader and Ben
on the Death Star.
Every time I watch that fight as like
it's
a grown man now, I'm just like, oh,
it's
God.
hard. It's hard to watch, and it's like there's a really funny like new canon explanation for why that fight is so different from the rest of the series. When really, I mean, the movie was made in the 70s, and it's like they're old, and I mean, George Lucas's vision for Star Wars changed multiple times over, during its entire life.
Right.
So I mean, it's like it was the first one.
Well, hold on.
Lightsaber dueling was defensive, and
look
so
at
like
the New Hope.
The New Hope.
And so the in-canon reason for why the fight is so lame to watch now is it's just that they were both masters in their prime, and that they didn't need all the flashiness or anything anymore. So it's just them kind of poking at each other and trying to find an opening and that sort of thing. I was like, I get it, and that makes sense. It's also dumb. That fight's not good.
My consideration is that it's because like not necessarily canonically, but this is like why it is the way it is. Back when they were just making it, you look at actual like competitive sword fighting as a sport these days, it's very like
that first one is very
and they're just kind of like tip tapping forward and just like jabbing at each other.
That first one makes me think of like fencing.
Like all this, and I'm sure this is just a gift.
Garbage.
Now.
Yeah.
It's not Yoda flipping around fighting.
I hate that fight so much.
Okay. I was 13 years old and I'm like,
look, when I was like 9 and Attack of the Clones came out, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then, as I like to say so often, and then I developed a taste.
Oh, I'm talking the Yoda fight in Revenge.
Oh, that one's even worse.
In the Senate, when they're like, okay, no, but when they're force throwing the Senate chairs around.
Dumb.
That's awesome. Come on.
I'm telling you, they put those chairs in those movies solely for that fight.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. There was no like the part where Yoda's flipping around and count
Suku.
Dooku.
Count what? Not Dooku.
Dooku.
The old
it's not
one.
Dooku.
The Emperor.
He's not Dooku. He's
the Emperor.
Palpatine.
The Count the Emperor. He's freaking taking and just going, and he's an old guy. But the part where they're like chucking the chairs, that's freaking cool.
Yeah.
Get out.
I wasn't crazy about it.
Is there like an R/chair fighting?
I just as a whole don't like the idea of Yoda fighting.
As opposed to him just being like an enigma within the Force,
Not just an enigma. The thing is that
green enigma.
Is that Yoda was very much a pacifist. I felt like.
Don't make fun of my green enigma.
Yeah, dude.
Yoda almost seemed a very almost like monk-like character, and it was really weird to see him literally fighting.
Wait a second. Fighting monks.
I guess that was the wrong term.
Thank you very much.
That's true. Good point.
Would like a word with you.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
the entire
That was a bad analogy, but you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
my bad.
Yoda, especially in Empire Strikes Back, which again, by the time you get to Empire, he's at, it makes sense for his character arc to be fighting, and then later we realize that the Jedi way was wrong, and now he's a pacifist. But I don't like watching Yoda fight. It's just not something that's ever appealed to me.
It's unsettling because of how bad the CGI is.
It was
I thought you were
amazing
gonna
back
say
in the day.
un-American.
Oh yeah.
It was,
I
I
was
was
going to say un-American for some reason.
And
It's
there
un-American.
are still lots of aspects of the special effects of the prequel trilogy that have held up, but there are also lots of things that didn't.
The things that hold up worse are the things that were added in to the original trilogy.
Sure.
Like, man,
There's only so much you can do.
have
with
you
like
watched
9mm
the
if you're on-
Blu-rays of the original trilogy that Chris has?
Oh, dude, the edits to A New Hope are bad.
It,
I was going to say,
sometime.
okay, the one that everyone goes to, rightfully so, is when they first go to the Tatooine, like, city or whatever.
Tatooine.
Tatooine, yeah, whatever, Tatooine, that's right. And they're zooming in on the speeder or
You
whatever.
combine that with Dantooine.
and they put this huge Ronto CGI that just
fills the entire frame.
boom, like a
so
screen.
bad.
For a brief moment, the screen is nothing but like
Bad
poorly
CGI.
animated CGI
It's
Ronto.
so bad.
I think the worst one to me is the Jabba the Hutt scene.
when Han Solo walks behind him and steps on his tail,
yeah,
because he jumps up. It looks like he lagged about 3 frames per second.
have you seen the Jabba the Hutt scene?
Oh, I've seen it already.
That Jabba the Hutt
It's
scene.
bad.
He shouldn't be in the film till Return anyway.
Originally, he wasn't.
And
That scene wasn't in the original
I
cut
remember
of A New
freaking-
Hope.
Well, I know it wasn't, but I'm saying like
But the reason it's that bad is when they first filmed that scene, Jabba the Hutt was not the big slimy worm thing.
Right?
that
Wasn't
is.
he? He
was a human.
idealized to be something else. Or...
He was a human. The Jabba the Hutt was originally just like a regular old mob boss. He had like this big like fur coat. And so, in that scene that they filmed, Han walks behind him, and he didn't have a tail then. So
it's funny-
George Lucas
it's funny
tried to
'cause
make
that-
it look like Han walked on his tail, and it just looked like garbage.
There was that whole in like the Couture games that spawned the Huttese people.
The Hutts.
They speak Huttese, yeah, right. This
Yeah, they're Hutts.
It's just super. I don't.
the Hutts.
The fact that I know that, I think, like, removes 10 years from my life. Just knowing facts.
Not
like
only
that.
do they speak Huttese, but most of the people on Tatooine do.
I just want to remind you,
Watto,
Caleb,
Watto and Anakin, for instance, in the first movie, they're speaking Huttese.
Oh,
to each
yeah,
When
other,
you're-
yeah, like,
I just
so it's
want
like the memes that
I
come
just want
from
to
that.
remind you, Caleb, that when you're 85 and 90 and your dementia is really beginning to set in,
You should have learned the Star Wars.
you won't know your kids' names. You might know your wife's name. You
I'll
won't
know
know what day it is.
You'll just be babbling about Hutties to
You
the other
won't
people
know
in the,
all
in the,
about
in the
Hutties.
home.
It's really I brought this on myself.
Your grandkids are gonna be like, Papa's talking about Hutties and Save Point Productions again. And
You've lost
know,
it.
It's
and
that
you know what else?
podcast.
You know what else Caleb will be talking about?
And you'll just be sitting there in your room being like, the Hutts and Knights of the Old Republic first eventually became the lineage that would come down to Jabba the Hutt on Tatooine.
So our
But
Nar
Jabba
Shaddaa-
didn't originally have a tail in the scene in A New Hope, and they're like, I don't even know what Star Wars is. What are you talking about, Grandpa?
You know, we'll be on Star Wars episode 40 by then.
Oh,
but no,
please, they're gonna
but,
make Star Wars.
And they're gonna drive it
75.
directly into the ground.
Do you know what else Caleb will be talking about? Our Patreon. Patreon.com/SavePoint Productions.
Man, we did go pretty long, didn't we?
Patreon is a great way to
Yeah,
support
we
the
did.
channel. If you're at all interested, Patreon, basically what we do is
And
a
you
little
can
bit
become a Patreon
patron.
for
Patron.
dudes.
Or start your own Patreon, I guess. But yeah, so what we do, obviously making videos is not the freest thing in the world to do.
Yeah,
but yeah, so as we're trying to
The opposite, in fact.
as we're trying to improve what we do, improve our quality of content, if you would kind of become a partner with us in that journey, we would love that. Check out the Patreon; it's a cool page. Caleb here, if you like what he does, he has a Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Colonel Tater. We have all of our own personal Twitters, links to that in the description below. The Facebook Twitter,
The Facebook Twitter.
Save Point Twitter.
You can find us on the Facebook Twitter and also on the Facebook.
I think he said
Save Point
Facebook
Twitter and
twice.
Save Point Facebook page. Thank you very
He only
much.
speaks Huttese on the Facebook.
If you've liked the video, leave us a like. If you didn't, subscribe. Comment down below with your thoughts on why Chris is dumb. Thank you so much for
You
watching.
can find me on the Twitter.
I've been Sam. This is Chris.
I was Caleb.
That's
at
Caleb.
one
I'm
point
losing
in
my
life.
voice pretty bad. Goodbye.
I am no longer.
I need beer.
I need some beer.
Girl, go get me my beer and my Pringle.
One Pringle?